Justin with Past Preservation, Midland, Michigan. Right here, I've got a headstone that was actually very interesting. The top half that you see over here on the wood was actually standing on this stone, and it was just a little bit offset, so I came over here to look at the stone, and by feeling the stone I could tell that this was just perched up here and gravity was the only thing keeping it there. So I decided I was gonna work on this stone and try to at least make it so that it's safe for it to stand here the way that it should. And we're gonna start cleaning this thing up right now and be able to set that piece back up on here with some epoxy and at least get it back into one piece, so that way it's not unsafe for people that want to walk around it. That piece over there probably weighs about 150 pounds. It's quite heavy, maybe even a little bit more. I was able to lift it off of here, but that's about all I wanted to do. So let's start cleaning this thing. We'll get it cleaned up, prep it for repair, and we'll start working on that. Okay, first things first, we're gonna wash this whole thing down, top and bottom piece, with some water and Orvis soap and a brush. And I got it all mixed up right here. Gonna wet the whole thing down with it. And that will start to soften up some of that stuff. There's a lot of lichen on the back side of this thing. I like to apply some water and a little bit of this Orvis paste soap, and then I like to let it sit for a few minutes before I start getting into the scrubbing and stuff. It tends to soften the growth up, makes it a little bit easier to remove, so you don't have to put so much effort into it, you know. So then obviously we'll clean this front side of this one and the spot that the break occurred, and then we'll flip it and I'll clean the back side before we get going on this. I actually don't know what the name on this stone is yet, and I assume that once we start to get it clean, we'll be able to see a little bit better what the name on this stone is. Actually see the name on this part. It says Ruth A. So I'm sure well, this is Susan there. That's a Civil War veteran next to that. I bet you this is like maybe a husband and a daughter and a wife or something like that. Okay, so really we're at a point now on this stone where the majority of what's left is subsurface biological growth, and we're not going to be able to brush that off. You really have to put a biological solution on it, like D2, and allow that to work at it, because it will get down underneath the surface of the stone and kill all that biological growth, and over time it will remove itself basically. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to tip this up so I can let that water drain off. And you can see now, you know, this is all deep growth algae, and there's nothing raised on here. It's all underneath the surface. It's going to have D2 to remove that. So now we have to apply some D2 to it. I'm going to flip that piece over and clean the back and D2 it. Then we'll let it dry. And once it's dry, we'll prep that joint for epoxy, and we'll set that piece on there. Okay, now just wait for that to dry, and once it's dry, which it won't take long on a day like today, as hot as it is, once that's dry, we can start the epoxy fit up and get it clamped up and let it cure overnight. Okay, now this stone is fully dried. And it's ready to prep for putting adhesive on and then adhering the top piece to it. So what I've got here is I've got a wire brush, and a lot of people like to use wire brush. I've used a stiff bristle brush before. Wire brush really works nice on only this mating surface that you're never going to see again, to make sure that there's nothing loose and that you get all the loose crud out of here before you join these two pieces back together. It's really imperative that you make sure you get everything that's loose out of here. And you don't have to worry too much about, you know, smaller little grains or whatever, but you wouldn't want a larger chunk that's sitting there just very loose to stay in here. It could weaken the joint. So we've wire brushed this piece off. I'm going to wire brush this piece, then we're going to mix up some epoxy and get ready to set this piece back on top. The next step would be to get some epoxy mixed up and get some boards clamped on so we can get ready to set that piece on top. Okay, so now that I've got the two surfaces prepped and I've got my Epoxy 5010 clear epoxy mixed up, you want to make sure that you mix it really well. It's a 2-part to 1-part epoxy. So I've got quite a bit of it here because it's such a wide stone. I've got both of these surfaces prepped well. Now I'm going to just start applying this epoxy to this bottom half, this bottom piece. You don't have to apply it to both. You can, but in this instance, you know, the top piece is not as easily managed as what some of the smaller stones could be. So we're just going to put it on the bottom piece and set the top piece down on top of there. It doesn't take a whole lot of epoxy, you know. This is a wider stone, so I mixed up more than what I typically would. But believe it or not, these two pieces of stone fit together really nicely, and there's not going to be a whole lot of void area in there, so these little piles that you see here are actually going to squish out, and they will squish out and cover the majority of this ceiling, or this mating surface, and probably will have a little bit of squeeze out in one or two areas, I would guess. So that's more than enough epoxy to hold this stone together. So the next step is to get some boards clamped on. I could have done that first, but wait. So I've got two extra boards here, and I'm gonna clamp them on the face because I'm gonna set this piece from the back. So we'll clamp that up just like that. These DeWalt clamps are really nice. They're 300-pound hold. More than enough for what you really need. And I was getting ready to put that on backwards. Really hard to operate like this, but okay, so I got those clamps on there. This is nice and cleaned off. There's no threat of anything falling into the joint or into the epoxy. So we're going to try to keep this on the wood. This is a very heavy piece, and if you are going to do some stuff like this, you need to be aware of what you're able to lift and what you're not able to lift, because this could be very dangerous at times. Like I said before, this is probably a 150 to 175 pound piece, and I know that I'm able to lift it, but the last thing you want to do is injure yourself trying to do something like this. So that actually fits up really nice. And now I'm gonna put another board on the back on each side and reclamp this, and we'll get a bag over it so it doesn't get any rainwater in there. Uh-oh, I'm missing my clamp foot there. Oh, that'll be okay, it'll work. Probably in the back of my truck. One clamp on top, one clamp on bottom. That one's good to go. Okay, there's that. Okay guys, well there it is. It's all epoxied up, got some clamps on it, and it's good to go. We aren't supposed to be getting any rain over the next 48 hours or so I'm just going to leave it like that so people can see what's going on. Got my sign up next to it. So anyways, thank everybody for coming along. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. Share it with all your friends. And we'll see you on the next one.